In the year 2514, the once bustling spaceport city of Lancaster, Pennsylvania, stands under a pall of foreboding silence. The city, a fusion of futuristic architecture and historic reverence, now waits, unaware of the lurking cosmic horror. Lancaster's skyline, a testament to humanity's reach into the stars, is dotted with towering spires and sprawling spaceports, its streets a maze of neon and hollow ads, all humming with the energy of a thriving spacefaring civilization. At the heart of the city is its grand spaceport, a hub for interstellar travel and commerce. Here, sleek starships and bulky freighters from across the galaxy dock and depart, a testament to mankind's indomitable spirit and technological prowess. The spaceport, usually alive with the hustle of travelers and the buzz of cargo loaders, now echoes a strange quietude. The citizens of Lancaster, accustomed to the daily spectacle of starships and the routine of space travel, begin their day like any other, oblivious to the impending threat. The usual cacophony of the city's morning rush is subtly subdued, as if the city itself senses something amiss. In the periphery of the Earth's orbit, a monstrous aberration creeps closer, a brother moon, its gargantuan form casting a shadow that chills the soul. The brother moon, a celestial harbinger of death and transformation, brings with it the unspeakable horror of the necromorphs, entities of cosmic terror and corruption. As the day progresses, subtle changes start to ripple through Lancaster. Communications with orbiting ships and off-world colonies become strained, filled with static and inexplicable interruptions. Technicians and spaceport officials attribute these anomalies to solar flares or technical glitches, unaware of the insidious nature of the interference. Meanwhile, deep within the bowels of the city, in the less frequented alleys and forgotten maintenance tunnels, the first signs of the outbreak begin to manifest. Unseen, the necromorph contagion starts its grim work, twisting and reshaping the unfortunate few who stumble upon it into grotesque parodies of their former selves. The city, still bustling on the surface, remains ignorant of the creeping horror that has begun to infiltrate its very foundations. The normalcy of daily life in Lancaster provides a stark contrast to the lurking terror, setting a scene of eerie calm before the impending storm. As night falls, the city's neon lights flicker and dance, casting long shadows that seem to writhe and twist in the corners of the eye. It's in these shadows that the first whispers of fear begin to circulate, tales of missing persons, strange sightings in the spaceport, and an unexplained sense of dread that grips the heart. In this slow, creeping manner, the stage is set for a tale of survival and horror, as the citizens of Lancaster stand on the precipice of a nightmare they cannot yet comprehend. The cosmic horror of the brother moon looms ever closer, its influence seeping into the city like a poison, setting the scene for a struggle not just for survival, but for the very soul of humanity. In Lancaster, the air is thick with an unexplained tension, a psychological miasma that seeps into the minds of its citizens. The city, still architecturally magnificent with its grand spaceports and fusion of old and new, is now host to a creeping madness, a necromorphic psychosis that distorts reality and sows chaos. At first, it's just whispers, rumors circulating in hushed tones among the populace. People speak of seeing things that aren't there, shadows moving in the corner of their eyes, figures lurking just out of sight. The city's vibrant markets and bustling thoroughfares, once filled with the vibrant chatter of commerce and life, now echo with a sense of unease. In coffee shops, patrons speak in lowered voices about friends or family who have started acting strangely, seeing attackers where there are none. In the high-rise apartments, residents report unsettling occurrences, doors slamming shut with no one there, electronic devices turning on by themselves, voices whispering through the walls. The psychosis spreads insidiously, not like a wave but like a creeping fog, enveloping the city in a blanket of paranoia and dread. People begin to mistrust one another, neighbors eye each other with suspicion, and once friendly conversations turn into confrontations fueled by irrational fears and hallucinations. In the corridors of power, the city's leaders and officials are not immune to this creeping madness. Mayors, council members, and even the heads of the spaceport begin to show signs of the psychosis. They issue orders for martial law, seeing threats in every shadow, perceiving rebellion and conspiracy in every report. But their commands fall on ears as troubled as their own. The police and military, too, are caught in the grip of the necromorphic influence, talking to phantoms, securing streets against imagined enemies. The city's advanced surveillance and security systems, designed to protect against external threats, are rendered ineffective as the threat comes from within. The monitors show empty streets and quiet neighborhoods, while the reality is far different, a city gripped by an unseen terror, its citizens battling their own minds. As the psychosis deepens, the city descends into chaos. Streets that were once safe are now avenues of paranoia, where a simple glance can be interpreted as a hostile act. Families barricade themselves in their homes, fearing their neighbors. The spaceport, once a symbol of humanity's aspirations, is now eerily quiet, as flights are grounded and communication with the outside world falters. Amidst this psychological turmoil, the true nature of the threat remains hidden, its insidious influence working unseen. The Brother Moon, the source of this maddening contagion, looms closer, its presence a malignant force that preys not on the body, but on the mind. In this state of self-inflicted anarchy, the stage is set for a struggle not against flesh and blood monsters, but against the monsters within, as the citizens of Lancaster confront the darkest corners of their own psyche, manipulated by an unseen cosmic horror. As the necromorphic psychosis deepens its grip on Lancaster, the city descends into a macabre tableau of self-destruction. The once orderly and vibrant streets become a stage for surreal and horrifying acts, a manifestation of humanity's darkest instincts fueled by unseen cosmic terror. In residential areas, once tranquil and safe, the scenes are chilling. Windows that framed happy homes now echo with screams and shatter in violence. Neighbors, who shared meals and laughter, now turn on each other in frenzied paranoia. Hallways are stained with the evidence of brutal confrontations, walls marked with the chaotic smears of those who saw monstrous entities in their friends and family. In the city center, the chaos is even more stark. Public squares, where people once gathered to enjoy the beauty of the starlit sky, become arenas of madness. Ordinary citizens, overcome by hallucinations, lash out at empty air or unseen foes, their screams piercing the night. Some, lost in their delusions, throw themselves from the towering buildings, convinced they are escaping nightmarish creatures. The police, succumbing to the same psychosis, engage in their own forms of madness. Squads move through the city in disjointed, erratic patterns, breaking into homes and apartments based on imaginary threats. They storm through living rooms and bedrooms, firing at phantoms, leaving behind a trail of destruction and confusion. Their radios crackle with orders and reports that are nothing but figments of their disturbed minds. In the hospitals and clinics, scenes of desperation unfold. Doctors and nurses, struggling against their own unraveling sanity, attempt to treat the injured and the traumatized. The emergency rooms, overwhelmed, become a surreal mix of reality and hallucination. Medical staff see patients with injuries that aren't there, performing procedures on empty gurneys, while real victims of the chaos lie neglected, their pleas for help lost in the cacophony of madness. The city's public transportation becomes a twisted version of itself. Trains and buses, once symbols of Lancaster's efficient infrastructure, now move through the city like ghost vessels, their drivers navigating routes dictated by delirious minds. Passengers attack each other, convinced they are defending themselves from grotesque creatures, turning the compartments into scenes of carnage and despair. In the quieter corners of the city, the psychosis manifests in more insidious ways. Artists paint frenzied, disturbing images, driven by visions they cannot control. Musicians play dissonant, haunting melodies, their concerts turning into gatherings of confusion and fear. Street performers, once a source of joy and amusement, now enact bizarre, unsettling performances that draw crowds into their shared hallucinations. As Lancaster succumbs to this nightmarish reality, the fabric of society unravels at its seams. The city, a microcosm of humanity's achievements and dreams, now reflects its deepest fears and vulnerabilities, a victim of an invisible cosmic terror that preys not just on the body, but on the very essence of human sanity. Amidst the chaos and psychological terror gripping Lancaster, a new, more tangible horror begins to unfold. The necromorph contagion, having silently infiltrated the populace, now reveals its grotesque purpose. Ordinary citizens, already lost in the throes of madness, begin to undergo horrific transformations right on the streets of the city. These transformations are nightmarish to behold. In public spaces, people suddenly convulse and collapse, their bodies writhing unnaturally as the necromorphic infection takes hold. Onlookers, already mired in their own delusions, watch in horror and fascination as their friends and family members twist and deform before their eyes. The process is gruesome and surreal. Bones snap and elongate, flesh tears and reconfigures, as the victims' bodies are reshaped into the monstrous forms of necromorphs. These once human creatures rise, their forms a grotesque parody of their former selves, with elongated limbs, razor-sharp appendages, and gaping maws filled with needle-like teeth. In the densely populated areas of the city, the transformation en masse creates a scene of apocalyptic horror. People running in terror are overtaken by the change, their screams morphing into inhuman roars as they turn on those around them. The streets become battlegrounds, as newly formed necromorphs lunge at the still human, driven by a mindless hunger. The spaceport, once a beacon of human achievement, becomes a nightmarish ground zero. Travelers and staff undergo the transformation, the terminals and docking bays turning into dens of horror. Starships, poised for takeoff, become traps for their passengers and crew, as the infected turn within the confined spaces. In residential areas, the horror is more intimate but no less terrifying. Families witness their loved ones contort and change, their homes becoming scenes of unimaginable terror. The narrow alleys and back streets of the city echo with the sounds of transformation and the ensuing chaos. The city's infrastructure, already strained by the psychosis, crumbles under this new onslaught. Emergency services, overrun by the scale of the catastrophe, are unable to respond effectively. Hospitals, once places of healing, become overrun with the infected, their halls and wards turning into breeding grounds for more necromorphs. As the night wears on, Lancaster transforms from a city of advanced civilization into a landscape of horror. The skyline, once a symbol of human aspiration, now stands as a stark backdrop to the tragedy unfolding below. The necromorph outbreak, a manifestation of cosmic terror, sweeps through the city, leaving behind a trail of destruction and a profound sense of despair for what has been lost. In this new, gruesome reality, the survivors of Lancaster face not only the threat of the necromorphs but also the ongoing battle against their own unraveling sanity. The lines between reality and hallucination blur, making every shadow a potential threat, every sound a possible warning. The city, now a labyrinth of horror, forces its inhabitants to confront not only the physical monstrosities that hunt them but also the psychological terror that the Brother Moon has implanted in their minds. The once familiar streets and neighborhoods become a maze of danger and deception. Survivors huddle in makeshift shelters and barricaded homes, grappling with the dual threats of the necromorphs and their own compromised perceptions. Trust becomes a luxury few can afford, as the fear of the transformed and the hallucinations sow seeds of doubt among even the closest of allies. The military and police, their ranks diminished and scattered, attempt to mount a defense. But their efforts are hampered by the chaos of the situation and their own susceptibility to the psychosis. Squads find themselves fighting not only the necromorphs but also their own members who succumb to the transformation or fall victim to their delusions. In the midst of this apocalypse, acts of bravery and selflessness emerge. Individuals, both ordinary citizens and those in positions of responsibility, fight to protect others, even as they struggle with their own fears and hallucinations. These moments of human resilience shine as beacons of hope in the overwhelming darkness. However, the true extent of the horror is not just in the present carnage but in the implication of what this means for humanity. The necromorph outbreak in Lancaster is a grim reminder of the fragility of human civilization and the ever-present threat of cosmic horrors beyond human understanding. As dawn breaks over the city, the full scope of the devastation becomes apparent. Lancaster, once a thriving hub of humanity's future, now lies in ruins, a testament to the destructive power of the necromorphs and the psychological warfare waged by the Brother Moon. The survivors, those who have managed to endure the night, face a world forever changed, where the fight for survival has only just begun, and the future is shrouded in uncertainty and fear. The necromorphic outbreak in Lancaster is but a microcosm of a global catastrophe. Across the Earth, the same horrific transformation unfolds on an unimaginable scale, engulfing cities, towns, and villages in every corner of the planet. The Brother Moon's influence, far-reaching and relentless, has plunged humanity into a nightmare without borders. In major metropolises around the world, the scenes mirror those in Lancaster. Iconic cities, once bustling hubs of culture, commerce, and technology, are now overrun with necromorphs. The streets of New York, Paris, Tokyo, and countless others are turned into grotesque battlegrounds, where the architecture that symbolized human achievement now serves as a backdrop to unspeakable horror. The rural areas and smaller towns face their own grim fate. Isolated and unprepared, these communities suffer devastating attacks from transformed neighbors and loved ones. The contagion spreads rapidly through the countryside, turning serene landscapes into graveyards of humanity's past. World governments and international organizations, overwhelmed by the speed and scale of the outbreak, struggle to mount an effective response. Military forces are mobilized, but they face an enemy that is not only overwhelming in number but also insidious in nature, as their own ranks are infiltrated and decimated by the contagion. Communication networks, vital for coordination and information dissemination, become unreliable. Broadcasts are filled with emergency alerts, pleas for help, and, increasingly, static. The Internet, once a global platform for connection and knowledge, is overrun with distressing images, desperate messages, and, in its final moments, an eerie silence. As countries and continents fall, the true extent of the catastrophe becomes clear. The Brother Moon, an entity of cosmic horror, has not just attacked humanity physically but has struck at the very essence of human civilization. The psychological impact is as devastating as the physical transformations, with fear, paranoia, and madness spreading as quickly as the necromorphic infection. In space, the view of Earth from satellites and space stations becomes a testament to the tragedy. The planet, once a vibrant blue and green jewel, now shows signs of the chaos unfolding on its surface, with fires raging in forests and cities alike, and darkened areas where power grids have failed. The fight for survival becomes a fight for the future of humanity itself. Small pockets of survivors, scattered across the globe, cling to hope and to each other. In this new world, every day is a battle against not just the necromorphs but against the despair of a fallen civilization. The human spirit, resilient even in the face of cosmic horror, continues to fight, seeking a way to reclaim their planet from the grip of the Brother Moon and the nightmare it has unleashed. As the Earth succumbs to the necromorphic apocalypse, the remnants of humanity's spacefaring capabilities are mobilized in a desperate bid for survival. The situation is dire and chaotic, but amidst the despair, there are those who look to the stars for an escape from the horror that has befallen the planet. In orbit around Earth, the situation is frantic. Space stations and satellites, once serene outposts and instruments of human curiosity and ambition, become Ark-like refuges or platforms for a desperate exodus. Crews aboard these structures witness the unfolding nightmare below with a mix of horror and disbelief. Among these are the starships, both military and civilian, that were either in orbit at the time or able to launch amidst the chaos. Their captains and crews face harrowing decisions. Some choose to retreat from Earth, seeking safety in the depths of space or on distant colonies that may yet be untouched by the contagion. Others, driven by duty or compassion, attempt to facilitate evacuations, risking their own safety to rescue as many survivors as possible from the planet's surface. The scenes during these evacuation efforts are poignant and chaotic. Makeshift rescue operations are conducted, with starships descending into increasingly dangerous zones to pick up survivors. Spaceport launches, once routine and orderly, are now hasty and fraught with peril. Crowds of desperate people surge towards any vessel that offers a chance of escape, while pilots navigate the gauntlet of a planet in turmoil. Not all attempts are successful. Some ships are overrun by the infected before they can take off, their hopeful journeys turned into tragedies. Others, damaged by the chaos or malfunctioning due to lack of maintenance, fail to reach orbit, their flaming wreckage a testament to the desperation of the situation. In orbit, the retreat is equally fraught. Space stations that choose to evacuate face the challenge of limited resources and space. Decisions about who to save and who to leave behind weigh heavily on those in command. The lucky ones who make it aboard departing ships must then contend with the guilt and trauma of survival, leaving their home planet and loved ones behind. For those ships and stations that manage to escape Earth's orbit, their journey is one of uncertainty. The Brother Moon's reach is unknown, and the possibility of encountering the contagion elsewhere is a constant fear. These vessels, carrying the remnants of humanity, become beacons of hope and despair, drifting in the vastness of space, searching for a haven or a new beginning. As Earth fades into the distance, those aboard the escaping ships and stations look back with a mix of sorrow, regret, and determination. They carry with them the stories, the memories, and the legacy of a planet that was once home to a vibrant, thriving civilization. Their journey ahead is uncertain, but it is a testament to the enduring spirit of humanity, seeking survival and renewal among the stars. In the apocalyptic landscape of Lancaster, the city's once proud architecture now stands as broken monuments to a world that has fallen into chaos. The skyline, darkened and smoldering, is punctuated by the occasional flicker of fire or the distant glow of an uncontrolled blaze. Streets that were once alive with the hustle and bustle of city life are now littered with debris, abandoned vehicles, and the twisted remnants of the necromorphs and their victims. Survivors, those few who cling to their sanity amidst the horror, find themselves isolated in pockets of temporary safety. On rooftops, small groups huddle, scanning the streets below with a mix of fear and desperation. They are cut off, unable to reach one another, their calls for help lost in the cacophony of destruction that envelopes the city. Some signal for help with makeshift flags or fires, hoping against hope for a rescue that seems increasingly unlikely. In the streets, the situation is dire. Those not fortunate enough to find refuge are preyed upon by the roaming necromorphs or fall victim to their own delirium. The city's once vibrant public spaces are now scenes of brutal carnage, with the infected hunting down the remaining survivors in a grotesque parody of life. Amidst this hell on earth, in an old loom mill, a relic of Lancaster's past, one man has fortified himself against the chaos. He is a figure we recognize, a solitary sentinel in a world gone mad. His attire, reminiscent of the early 2000s, stands out starkly against the futuristic backdrop of the year 2514. A .44 Magnum rests in his hands, a tool of survival in a city where survival has become the only goal. His eyes, glowing with an intensity that seems almost supernatural, move across the monitors in front of him, each screen a window into the nightmare that Lancaster has become. The images are a mosaic of despair, burning buildings, streets overrun with necromorphs, and the scattered, desperate signals of other survivors. Beside him, a realization table hums softly, its purpose now turned to analyzing the horror that humanity faces. On it lies the grotesque form of a dead necromorph, its once human features twisted beyond recognition. He studies it with a mix of fascination and revulsion, struggling to reconcile the creature before him with the person it once was. His charts and data, spread out around him, offer little in the way of hope. They tell a story of a contagion beyond understanding, a transformation that is both biological and otherworldly. Each piece of data, each observation, only serves to deepen the mystery and the sense of foreboding that hangs over him. In this makeshift stronghold, amidst the relics of a bygone era, he stands as a lone witness to the fall of his city and the potential fall of humanity. His glowing eyes, a beacon in the darkness, reflect a determination to understand, to survive, and perhaps to find a way to fight back against the cosmic horror that has claimed Lancaster and the world beyond. The man, known to us as Vanjik, pores over the stolen government documents that he had acquired some time ago, long before the world descended into this nightmare. The pages, filled with cryptic references and ominous warnings, seem to whisper secrets of the calamity that has now unfolded. He had suspected the truth, but seeing it laid bare in official documents brings a cold sense of validation. The files, marked with the emblem of EarthGov, contain detailed analyses and contingency plans revolving around something known as the Black Marker. Vanjik's eyes narrow as he reads, piecing together the narrative that the Earth government had known about the potential for a necromorphic outbreak, perhaps even the existence of the Brother Moon, far earlier than anyone had realized. It's clear they attempted to prevent this disaster, investing in research and countermeasures, but their efforts were too little, too late. The realization that they could have destroyed the Black Marker when they first had the chance weighs heavily on him. Amidst the pages, there's frequent mention of another group, one that stands in stark contrast to EarthGov, the Unitologists. This religious sect, with their fanatical beliefs in the markers and the Brother Moon, had always been at odds with Earth Governor. Despite their differences, they had coexisted in a state of pseudo-peace, a tension-filled balance that had now catastrophically tipped in favor of the Unitologists' dark prophecy. Vanjik mutters under his breath, "Fuck religion," his voice a mix of anger and despair. He looks again at the twisted form of the necromorph on his table, a grim symbol of the Unitologists' long-awaited convergence. It's a bitter irony that the very event they worshipped would lead to such devastation. Determined to take action, Vanjik activates his holomap, the holographic display illuminating the dim room. The map of Lancaster, overlaid with real-time data and emergency signals, is a patchwork of chaos. He zooms in on the locations of unitologist temples within the city. If anyone had answers, or perhaps even a solution to this madness, it might be found within those walls. He pinpoints the nearest temple, its location marked amidst the sprawling urban landscape. The temple, once a place of quiet worship and contemplation, could now hold the key to understanding the necromorphs and possibly finding a way to combat them. The thought that he might have to delve into the heart of unitologist territory is daunting, but the stakes are too high for hesitation. Vanjik stands up, holstering his .44 Magnum with a sense of resolve. The glow in his eyes seems to burn brighter with determination. He knows the journey will be perilous, navigating through a city overrun by necromorphs and haunted by the madness of its citizens. But the need for answers, and the slim hope of finding a way to reverse this nightmare, propels him forward. As he prepares to leave the safety of his barricaded stronghold, Vanjik casts one last glance at the documents and the dead necromorph. This journey could very well be a one-way trip, but for the chance to save what remains of humanity and to confront the architects of this apocalypse, it's a risk he's willing to take. The hellish landscape of Lancaster awaits, and with it, the uncertain path towards understanding and, hopefully, redemption. Standing atop the roof of the old loom mill, Vanjik surveys the city he has sworn to protect. His gaze sweeps over Lancaster, a city now unrecognizable under the shadow of cosmic horror. Memories flood through him, battles fought, enemies vanquished, and dangers averted. He recalls the gangs he dismantled, the corrupt agents he stopped with unerring precision from his trusty .44 Magnum, all to keep his city safe. But none of those challenges, none of those victories, could have prepared him for the disaster that now stretches before him. As he contemplates the city's fate, he thinks of the wars he has witnessed, the combat he has survived. Yet, the scale of devastation wrought by the necromorphs is unlike anything he has ever encountered. The destruction is not just physical, it's a corruption of the very essence of humanity. Turning to his communication equipment, Vanjik attempts to contact his allies through the call sign network, a sophisticated system designed to withstand the worst of crises. But even this advanced network, more robust than any earthbound technology, is crippled under the influence of the Brother Moon. The realization that even his own Vanjik network is affected hits him hard, a testament to the immense power of the cosmic entity they face. For a moment, he considers using an alternate method to call for backup. But he hesitates, his mind racing with the implications. The necromorphs mutate humans into monstrous forms. What if one of them got hold of a Vanjik, someone with his abilities and knowledge? The thought is chilling. The risk of creating an even more formidable enemy is too great. He decides against calling for help, knowing that the responsibility to face this horror rests on his shoulders alone. Lost in thought, Vanjik is jolted back to the present as several necromorphs swarm the rooftop. His training and instincts kick in. He draws his .44 Magnum, the weapon feeling familiar and reassuring in his grasp. The necromorphs, grotesque and relentless, advance towards him, but Vanjik is resolute. With precise and deadly shots, he dispatches the creatures one by one. Each bullet finds its mark, halting the twisted forms in their tracks. The fight is intense and brutal, a dance of death under the apocalyptic sky. Vanjik moves with purpose, his eyes glowing fiercely, a lone warrior standing against the tide of darkness. As the last of the necromorphs falls, Vanjik takes a moment to catch his breath. The rooftop, now a scene of carnage, serves as a grim reminder of the task ahead. He knows this is just the beginning, that the challenges he will face are beyond anything he has known. But he is determined to fight, to search for answers, and to do whatever it takes to save his city and humanity from the clutches of the Brother Moon and its nightmarish spawn. Vanjik's confusion is palpable as he witnesses the necromorphs, which he had just dispatched, rise again. The realization dawns on him that these creatures have evolved, no longer bound by the mortal constraints of vital organs. His usual tactics, effective on countless foes before, now seem futile against these continuously regenerating monstrosities. In a swift decision, Vanjik leaps from the rooftop, diving into the chaotic streets below. His movements are fluid, a testament to his experience and agility. He weaves through the debris-strewn streets, dodging obstacles and more necromorphs, a lone figure amidst the pandemonium. His eyes catch sight of a grav pulley, a piece of technology that manipulates gravitational forces. With a deft kick, he activates it, propelling himself upwards in a controlled arc. His trajectory is perfect, and he grabs onto a ledge, pulling himself through a broken window into the relative safety of a building. Catching his breath, Vanjik checks his holomap and realizes where he has landed, inside the Unitologist Temple, the very destination he was seeking. The irony of the situation does not escape him. Amidst all the chaos, fate has delivered him to the heart of the mystery. He takes a moment to gather his thoughts, his mind racing with the implications of what he has just witnessed. The necromorph's ability to regenerate and function without vital organs marks a terrifying evolution in their biology. How does one kill what is already dead? How does one stop an enemy that defies the very concept of mortality? As he ponders this new complication, Vanjik realizes that his approach must change. The tactics that served him well against human adversaries are inadequate against these mutated horrors. He needs to understand them better, find their new weakness, if such a thing exists. The temple around him is eerily silent, a stark contrast to the chaos outside. Its halls and chambers might hold crucial information about the necromorphs, the black marker, and perhaps even a way to stop them. The answers he seeks could be hidden within these walls, guarded by the fanatical Unitologists who worship the very force that now threatens to consume the world. Vanjik steels himself for the task ahead. With careful steps, he begins to explore the temple, alert for any signs of danger. His mind is clear, focused on the mission. To save his city, to save humanity, he must delve into the heart of darkness and confront the twisted truths of the Unitologist faith. The path ahead is fraught with peril, but Vanjik is ready. He has faced countless dangers before, and while this might be his greatest challenge yet, he is not one to back down from a fight, especially when the stakes are as high as the survival of humanity itself. As Vanjik cautiously moves through the darkened corridors of the Unitologist Temple, he encounters a scene of unimaginable horror. The walls and floors are coated with a fleshy substance, an organic growth that seems to pulsate and writhe subtly, as if alive. This grotesque covering, a fusion of architecture and living tissue, gives the impression that the temple itself has transformed into a living entity. Using his natural night sight, an ability that allows him to see clearly in the darkness, Vanjik surveys the scene with a sense of growing dread. The temple, once a place of worship and quiet contemplation, now resembles the interior of some monstrous beast. The air is heavy and damp, carrying a faint, unsettling odor. As he examines the flesh-like substance, Vanjik's gaze falls upon a human face, partially merged into the wall. The sight is shocking, a clear indication that the Unitologists themselves have not been spared from the necromorphic plague. The face, trapped in the organic mass, is a silent testament to the tragic fate that has befallen the temple's inhabitants. Vanjik leans in for a closer look, his instincts on high alert. He realizes with a chilling clarity that all the fleshy growths are interconnected, part of a singular, horrific organism. The face on the wall, its features contorted in an eternal scream, is just one small part of this larger, nightmarish entity. Suddenly, the face's eyes snap open, and its mouth widens in a silent scream. Vanjik's reflexes kick in, and he dives to the left, narrowly avoiding a tendril that lashes out from the ceiling. More tendrils follow, each strike swift and deadly, aimed with terrifying precision. The face on the wall continues to scream, a sound that now fills the temple, echoing off the walls in a cacophony of terror. Vanjik rolls and dodges, evading the grasping tendrils. His movements are a blend of practiced combat skills and survival instinct. He realizes he's not just in a building, he's inside a massive, living organism, one that's defensive and aggressive. The realization that the temple itself might be a part of the necromorphic infestation, a living extension of the Brother Moon's will, is a horrifying revelation. It dawns on Vanjik that this place could hold vital clues to understanding the necromorph's nature and potentially their weaknesses. Armed with his .44 Magnum and his wits, Vanjik prepares to delve deeper into the temple. Each step takes him further into the heart of darkness, where the secrets of the unitologists, their worship of the markers, and the true extent of the necromorphic transformation await discovery. Despite the dangers that lurk in the shadows, Vanjik's resolve is unshaken. He knows that the key to ending this nightmare may well lie within these fleshy walls, and he is determined to uncover it, no matter the cost. Vanjik's escape through the temple is a breathtaking display of agility and combat prowess. He maneuvers through the nightmarish landscape with an almost supernatural grace, his every move a calculated response to the relentless attacks of the tendrils. The temple's interior, a labyrinth of corridors and chambers, transforms into an arena of survival, with Vanjik pitted against the living architecture of the necromorph-infested structure. His flight is a blur of motion, dodging, weaving, wall running, and leaping over obstacles that include overturned desks and strange, flesh-coated obelisks. Just as he finds himself cornered, a massive tendril strikes, sending him crashing through a window. The fall is sudden, but Vanjik's instincts serve him well. He lands on a nearby rooftop, the impact jarring but non-lethal. As he regains his bearings, Vanjik realizes he's landed on what was once a survivor's refuge. The scene is grim, the previous occupant lies motionless, having chosen to end his struggle in the face of overwhelming despair. Vanjik's gaze then falls upon the object in the deceased man's hand, a plasma cutter. He picks up the tool, inspecting it closely. The plasma cutter, a common tool in space construction and engineering, uses intense plasma beams to cut through metal with ease. But Vanjik, with his keen understanding of weaponry and tactics, sees another use for it, as a weapon against the necromorphs. The realization sparks a glimmer of hope. If the plasma cutter can slice through metal, then it can certainly cut through the mutated tissue of the necromorphs. Perhaps this tool could be the key to fighting back, to turning the tide in this seemingly hopeless battle. With a renewed sense of purpose, Vanjik tests the plasma cutter, adjusting its settings and getting a feel for its weight and balance. The tool hums to life in his hands, its energy beam crackling with lethal potential. He can almost visualize it shearing through the necromorphs, offering a way to finally stop them permanently. It seems like I might have a way to fight these things after all. Vanjik mutters to himself, a determined look in his eyes. He knows the road ahead is fraught with danger, but armed with the plasma cutter, he has a fighting chance. With the city of Lancaster still under siege and the fate of humanity hanging in the balance, Vanjik prepares to re-enter the fray. The plasma cutter in hand, he sets off from the rooftop, ready to face the horrors that await and to find a way to end the necromorphic nightmare once and for all. Vanjik steps onto the eerily quiet streets of Lancaster, a stark contrast to the chaos within the buildings where the necromorphs now hunt. The city, once a bustling hub, is now a desolate landscape, its silence punctuated by distant screams and the unsettling sounds of destruction. As he navigates through the abandoned streets, Vanjik's mind races, piecing together the horrifying puzzle. The revelation in the Unitologist temple has shed new light on the situation. It's clear to him now that the Unitologists, despite their fanaticism and worship of the markers, are not the orchestrators of this apocalypse. The dead bodies and the temple transformed into a living extension of the necromorph infestation are proof enough that they too have fallen victim to the very phenomenon they revered. Vanjik's thoughts take a darker turn as he considers the true nature of the enemy he faces. It's not just a contagion or a series of isolated incidents, it's a coordinated, planet-wide assault by a sentient, malevolent force. The Brother Moon, an entity of cosmic proportions, is manipulating and mutating life on Earth to its own ends. The concept is almost too monstrous to comprehend: an undead moon, a celestial body brought to some semblance of life, capable of bending the very fabric of biology and reality. This entity doesn't just infect and transform, it dominates and repurposes sentient life to expand its own horrific existence. As Vanjik continues his solitary journey through the city, the weight of this realization bears heavily on him. He is not just fighting a widespread outbreak or a fanatical cult, he is up against a force that challenges the very laws of nature and life. The necromorphs are merely extensions of this greater threat, puppets animated by the will of a cosmic horror. Despite the daunting nature of this revelation, Vanjik's resolve does not waver. With the plasma cutter in hand and a newfound understanding of the enemy, he presses on. He knows that the key to defeating this otherworldly foe lies in understanding it, finding its weaknesses, and exploiting them. The streets of Lancaster, with their shadows and silence, hold more secrets and dangers. Vanjik moves with purpose, prepared to face whatever horrors the Brother Moon has unleashed. In this battle for survival, against an enemy as ancient and inexorable as the stars themselves, Vanjik stands as humanity's reluctant but resolute defender. As Vanjik makes his way through the desolate streets of Lancaster, his path is occasionally obstructed by necromorphs. These encounters, once daunting, now seem almost routine in the face of his new understanding, and armed with the plasma cutter, he dispatches each creature with clinical efficiency, the tool proving to be remarkably effective. The energy beam of the plasma cutter slices through the necromorph's mutated flesh with ease, severing limbs and cutting through their core, ensuring they do not rise again. With each step, Vanjik's mind continues to churn, fitting pieces of the cosmic puzzle together. The realization hits him with a chilling clarity: the mutations caused by the Brother Moon are not random acts of horror, they are steps in a process, a terrifying progression towards an unthinkable end. He muses on the logic of this progression. Individual humans mutate into necromorphs, single entities of horror. Buildings, like the Unitologist temple, become hives, or nests, larger organisms in their own right. It's a pattern of increasing scale and complexity. The mutations don't just stop, they escalate, each step more horrifying than the last. Then, the epiphany strikes him: if this process continues unchecked, if an entire planet's worth of humans and their creations were to mutate and converge, the result would be the genesis of another Brother Moon. The Earth itself could transform into a massive, undead celestial entity, a new node in the network of cosmic horror that the Brother Moons represent. This realization is a turning point. Vanjik understands that the stakes are far greater than the survival of Lancaster, or even humanity. They are fighting to prevent Earth from becoming an abomination on a cosmic scale, to stop the birth of a new brother moon. Armed with this new understanding, Vanjik's mission becomes clearer. He needs to find the source of the infection, the nexus of the brother moon's influence on Earth. If there is any hope of stopping this process, of saving the planet from a fate worse than destruction, it lies in unraveling the mystery of the brother moon's connection to Earth and finding a way to sever it. Determined, Vanjik continues his journey through the city, his mind focused on the task at hand. Each necromorph he encounters and eliminates is one small step towards halting the monstrous transformation of his world. The path ahead is fraught with peril, but the fate of the Earth and perhaps the universe itself may depend on the success of his lone, desperate quest. Vanjik's mind races as he contemplates the enormity of the task ahead. The brother moon, a monstrous entity looming over Earth, presents a challenge of unprecedented scale. Then, an idea strikes him with the force of revelation: a planet cracker. These colossal vessels, designed for breaking apart planets and asteroids for mining, could be the key to destroying the brother moon. His plan rapidly takes shape in his mind. If he could gain control of a planet cracker ship, he could potentially use it as a weapon against the brother moon itself. It's a desperate plan, but in the face of such a colossal threat, desperation breeds ingenuity. Vanjik springs into action, making his way to a nearby holograph. He activates it, launching himself high into the air, and lands skillfully on a rooftop. From this vantage point, he gazes towards the massive spaceport that towers miles into the sky, a symbol of humanity's reach into the cosmos. There, suspended in the lower atmosphere, is the flagship of the spaceport, a planet cracker ship. It's an awe-inspiring sight, a vessel the size of a small country, bristling with mining equipment capable of tearing planets apart. In Vanjik's mind, this ship is no longer a tool for mining but the key to Earth's salvation. The spaceport, however, is miles away, and the journey there will be perilous. Vanjik knows that the streets are crawling with necromorphs, and the city is in complete disarray. But the urgency of his mission leaves no room for hesitation. If I can get to the control terminal at the spaceport and hack into the remote control systems, I can guide the planet cracker vessel right into the brother moon, he thinks to himself, a plan forming in his mind. It's a monumental task, requiring him to traverse the dangerous city, breach the spaceport's security, and take control of one of the most powerful ships ever built. Vanjik sets off, determination etched on his face. He navigates the rooftops, using his agility and experience to avoid the chaos on the streets below. His journey is a gauntlet through a city transformed into a war zone, each step taking him closer to the spaceport and the planet cracker. As he moves, Vanjik stays focused on the task ahead, aware that the fate of the Earth hangs in the balance. His plan is bold, perhaps the boldest he has ever conceived, but in this battle against a cosmic horror, boldness is the only option. The image of the planet cracker, his potential weapon against the brother moon, looms in his mind, a beacon guiding him through the darkness and destruction. Vanjik's resolve to commandeer the planet cracker is unwavering, but he recognizes the enormity of the task. It's not something he can do alone, even remotely. He needs a team, individuals with skills and sanity intact amidst the chaos. Scouring rooftop after rooftop, Vanjik searches for survivors. The task is disheartening. Many he finds are too far gone, their minds shattered by the horrors they've witnessed. But Vanjik doesn't give up. His determination pays off when he spots a group huddled on the rooftop of a spacecraft manufacturing site. Approaching cautiously, Vanjik assesses the group. They are a diverse mix, each appearing to have retained their sanity despite the apocalyptic circumstances. There's Mara, a skilled engineer, her hands still stained with grease, her gaze sharp and alert. Beside her is Jackson, a former security officer, his posture tense and ready for action. Huddled together are Lena and Tomasz, both young technicians, their faces marked with fear but also a flickering spark of hope. Vanjik introduces himself, quickly establishing a rapport. He explains his plan to them, the need to take control of the planet Cracker and use it against the brother moon. He lays out the stakes. It's not just about survival now, but about preventing Earth from becoming a monstrous entity. Mara's eyes light up at the mention of the planet Cracker. She's familiar with their systems, having worked on similar vessels. Jackson, with his security background, understands the tactical challenges they'll face in reaching and taking control of the spaceport. Lena and Tomasz, though young, are eager to contribute, their technical skills potentially invaluable. The group listens intently, weighing the risks and the slim chance of success. Vanjik sees the determination in their eyes, a shared resolve to fight back, to do something in the face of overwhelming odds. They agree to join him, each motivated by the desire to save what's left of their world, to fight against the darkness that has consumed their city and threatens their planet. Together, they form a makeshift team, each member bringing their own skills and strengths to the table. They quickly devise a plan to reach the spaceport, to navigate the necromorph-infested streets and breach the heavily fortified facility. As they set off from the rooftop, the group moves with purpose, united by a common goal. Vanjik leads them, the plasma cutter in his hand a symbol of their newfound hope. The journey ahead will be fraught with danger, but together, they stand a chance. In the battle for the future of Earth, they are no longer just survivors, they are the last line of defense against a cosmic horror beyond imagination. Vanjik quickly realizes that keeping his newly formed team safe through the perilous streets of Lancaster is a formidable challenge. Each member brings valuable skills, but in terms of combat experience, Vanjik far outmatches them. Jackson, with his military background, is a competent fighter, but the others, though brave, are not accustomed to the horrors they now face. As they navigate the treacherous city, the group encounters numerous obstacles. Necromorphs lurk around every corner, their grotesque forms emerging from the shadows with terrifying suddenness. Vanjik takes the lead, his plasma cutter a lethal beacon, cutting down the monsters with precision and efficiency. Jackson follows closely, his security training kicking in as he provides cover and assists in neutralizing threats. Mara, Lena, and Tomasz, despite their lack of combat experience, adapt quickly, their determination overriding their fear. They follow Vanjik's lead, moving swiftly and quietly, avoiding unnecessary confrontations. There are several close calls. At one point, the group is ambushed by a pack of necromorphs, and Vanjik is forced to fight a rearguard action to cover their retreat. His expertise with the plasma cutter shines through as he dismembers the creatures with swift, clean cuts, but the encounter leaves the group shaken. In another instance, they come across a collapsed building, its structure teetering precariously. Vanjik and Jackson carefully navigate the group through the debris, aware that any wrong move could bring the entire structure down on them. Despite these challenges, Vanjik's leadership keeps them moving forward. He is constantly aware of his team's limitations, adjusting their pace and route to accommodate their abilities while ensuring their safety. His priority is clear: to get them to the spaceport intact. Finally, after navigating through the city's ruined streets and avoiding numerous dangers, they reach a grav taxi station. Vanjik quickly commandeers one of the vehicles, a hover taxi designed for rapid transit across the city. The grav taxi, with its ability to travel above the chaos on the streets, offers them the best chance to reach the spaceport swiftly and safely. As they ascend into the air, the group catches their breath, the immediate danger momentarily behind them. The spaceport, visible in the distance, looms large as their final destination. Vanjik pilots the taxi with expert hands, maneuvering through the skyline of the devastated city. The journey to the spaceport, several miles away, is tense. The skyline of Lancaster, once a testament to human ingenuity and ambition, now serves as a haunting reminder of the catastrophe that has befallen them. But there's no time for reflection, their mission is clear, and the fate of the Earth hangs in the balance. As the Grav taxi approaches the spaceport, Vanjik and his team prepare for the next phase of their plan. The task ahead is daunting, infiltrating one of the most secure facilities on the planet and taking control of a planet cracker ship, but together, they are determined to see it through. For Vanjik, this makeshift team has become more than just allies, they are the last hope in the fight against the cosmic terror that threatens their world. As Vanjik and his team approach the spaceport in the Grav taxi, they are met with a scene that none of them had anticipated, a scenario that underlines the depth of desperation and chaos that has engulfed the planet. From their vantage point, they witness a massive congregation of people at the spaceport. Thousands upon thousands have gathered, driven by a blind and futile hope of evacuation. In Vanjik's mind and those of his team, the idea of an evacuation under the current circumstances seemed beyond reason. The brother moon loomed in higher orbit, making any attempt to breach the atmosphere a guaranteed suicide mission. Space, devoid of life and now the domain of a cosmic horror, offered no refuge. And on Earth, transformed into a living hell by the necromorphic contagion, there was simply nowhere safe to run. The very notion of evacuation was not just pointless, it was counterproductive and a certain death wish. Vanjik and his team understood this grim reality, but it appeared that this understanding hadn't reached or hadn't been accepted by the wider, desperate population. These thousands of people, many undoubtedly suffering from mental breakdowns due to the relentless horror, had converged on the spaceport in a last-ditch effort to escape. It was a cruel irony, their desperation to flee from the nightmare on Earth had only led them into a different kind of hell. As the Grav taxi descends closer, the extent of the tragedy becomes painfully clear. The spaceport, once a symbol of human achievement and a gateway to the stars, had become a death trap. People had crowded into its terminals, waiting for rescue ships that were never going to come. In their panic and madness, they hadn't considered the impossibility of their situation, the airspace dominated by the brother moon, and Earth itself a planet-wide necromorphic transformation. The situation at the spaceport had devolved into chaos and violence. As Vanjik and his team watch, they see fights break out among the crowds, people driven to the brink by fear and despair. And then, the inevitable happens, the necromorph contagion spreads through the massed ranks of people. Those waiting for evacuation transform into monstrous forms, the spaceport turning into a breeding ground for more necromorphs. By the time Vanjik and his team arrive, there are no survivors, only the twisted forms of the once human crowd. The scene is a stark reminder of the futility and cruelty of hope in the face of such overwhelming horror. The desperate idea of evacuation, a sliver of hope clung to by so many, had only served to seal their fate. Vanjik steels himself as they land at the spaceport. The tragedy unfolding before them only strengthens his resolve to stop the brother moon. The planet cracker ship, their last hope, awaits them, but first, they must navigate through the nightmare that the spaceport has become. The task is daunting, but Vanjik and his team are determined to see it through, carrying the weight of the lost lives and shattered hopes of those who had gathered here in their futile search for salvation. Landing the grav taxi as close as possible to the remote terminal of the spaceport, Vanjik and his team quickly realize that direct access is impossible. The entrance they had hoped to use is blocked, a result of the chaos and destruction that has consumed the spaceport. Their only option is to find an alternate route, one that will take them through the treacherous scaffoldings and vents of the massive structure. As they disembark, the full scale of the tragedy at the spaceport becomes even more apparent. The area is a labyrinth of scaffolding and maintenance pathways, a maze they must navigate carefully. Vanjik leads the group, moving with purpose and caution, his eyes constantly scanning for threats. The journey through the scaffoldings is harrowing. They move past windows and overlooks that offer glimpses into the interior of the spaceport, each scene a tableau of horror. Through one window, they witness a group of people, once hopeful evacuees, now turned into necromorphs. These monstrous forms, grotesque parodies of their former selves, roam the terminal, attacking anything and anyone in sight. In another area, they see the aftermath of a violent confrontation among the waiting crowds. Desperation and fear had turned to violence, with people attacking each other in a frenzy of panic. The ground is littered with bodies, some fallen in the struggle, others in the midst of transformation into necromorphs. As they continue, the group encounters evidence of people who chose to end their own lives rather than face the horror of transformation. These scenes are particularly poignant, a grim reminder of the depth of despair that the Brother Moon's presence has wrought upon humanity. Vanjik keeps the team focused, guiding them through the scaffoldings towards a maintenance vent that he hopes will lead them into the remote terminal. The path is narrow and treacherous, the drop below them a constant reminder of the danger they face. Finally, they reach the vent, and Mara uses her engineering skills to quickly and quietly open it. They slip inside, the claustrophobic space of the vent offering a temporary respite from the horrors outside. The vent is dark and cramped, but it represents their best chance of reaching the terminal undetected. As they make their way through the vent system, the sounds of chaos from the spaceport echo around them, a constant reminder of the urgency of their mission. Vanjik knows that every moment they spend navigating this labyrinth is a moment in which the Brother Moon's influence grows stronger. Emerging from the vent system into the remote terminal, the team finds themselves in a control room filled with monitors and equipment. This is their chance to take control of the planet Cracker ship and execute their desperate plan to destroy the Brother Moon. The task ahead is monumental, but Vanjik and his team are resolute. With the fate of the Earth hanging in the balance, they set to work, ready to do whatever it takes to save their planet from a fate worse than destruction. In the dimly lit control room of the remote terminal, a chilling whisper cuts through the air, repeating like a sinister mantra, "Make us whole." Vanjik's blood runs cold at the sound, a phrase so closely associated with the necromorphic contagion and the unitologist prophecy. As he turns to locate the source of the whisper, his eyes fall upon a sight that sends a shockwave of horror through him. There, standing amidst the shadows, is a figure that bears a haunting resemblance to himself, another Vanjik, horribly mutated. The figure's .44 Magnum is grotesquely fused with fleshy growths, and its eyes, once capable of piercing the darkness, now glow a malevolent blood red. For a fleeting moment, Vanjik questions his own sanity, wondering if the necromorphic psychosis has begun to take hold of him. But this doubt is shattered when his team, eyes wide with terror, screams in unison, "WTF is that thing?" The realization that this mutated doppelganger is real, not a figment of his imagination, sets Vanjik's nerves on edge. "Son of a bitch," he yells, instinctively drawing both his .44 Magnum and plasma cutter, ready to confront this twisted version of himself. The mutated Vanjik moves with an eerie, unnatural grace, its movements a grotesque mirror of Vanjik's own. The team steps back, giving Vanjik room, their eyes fixed on the abomination before them. The air is thick with tension as the two Vanjikis face off. The original Vanjik, driven by a mix of shock, anger, and a fierce determination to protect his team, takes the offensive. He fires a volley from his .44 Magnum, each shot aimed with precision, but the bullets seem to do little more than momentarily stagger the creature. Switching to the plasma cutter, Vanjik aims for the mutated creature's limbs, attempting to disable it with the weapon's powerful energy beam. The mutated Vanjik counters, moving with surprising speed, its own attacks a horrifying reflection of Vanjik's combat prowess. The battle is intense and personal, a fight not just against a physical foe, but against the embodiment of Vanjik's own worst fears. The mutated Vanjik is relentless, but Vanjik is resolute, his every move a testament to his will to survive and protect. As they exchange blows, the control room becomes a battleground, the clash of the two Vanjikis a symbol of the larger struggle against the necromorphic nightmare. The team watches in horror and awe, aware that the outcome of this fight could very well determine the fate of their mission and the planet itself. In the frenzied clash between Vanjik and his grotesque doppelganger, the fight takes a startling turn. The mutated Vanjik lashes out with blade tendrils, attempting to slice open our Vanjik. In response, Vanjik skillfully uses his plasma cutter, severing the tendrils with its intense energy beam, each cut a testament to his combat prowess. But then, the creature undergoes a startling transformation. It morphs, taking on the appearance of a different Vanjik, a bewildering and alarming tactic. Our Vanjik's mind races, piecing together the puzzle in the heat of battle. This creature isn't just a mutated version of himself, it's something else entirely, a mimic, a necromorphic entity capable of taking on the appearance of others. Realizing this, Vanjik changes his strategy. He aims his .44 Magnum at the weapon in the mimic's hands, expecting to hit metal. To his shock, he finds that the gun is not metal at all, but a grotesque flesh recreation. "You damn mimic!" Vanjik shouts, a mix of realization and anger in his voice. In a bold move, Vanjik tackles the mimic, crashing through a wall into an adjoining old locker room, a smaller space that confines the creature's movements. The mimic recovers first, lunging at Vanjik with renewed ferocity. But before it can land a blow, Vanjik's team, having followed them through the wall, jumps the mimic from behind, grappling with the abomination and providing Vanjik with a crucial opening. Seizing the opportunity, Vanjik unloads his .44 Magnum and plasma cutter on the mimic, each shot and cut delivered with deadly intent. The mimic, overwhelmed by the combined assault, finally succumbs to the barrage, its form collapsing into a grotesque heap. Breathing heavily, Vanjik and his team take a moment to regroup in the locker room, their hearts racing from the encounter. The mimic, a creature capable of imitating human form with disturbing accuracy, was a threat unlike any they had faced. Its ability to sow confusion and fear could have been catastrophic for their mission. With the mimic dispatched, Vanjik leads his team back into the control room. The encounter was a harrowing reminder of the necromorph's terrifying adaptability and the insidious nature of the Brother Moon's influence. But it also reinforced the team's resolve to stop the necromorphic infestation and prevent the Earth from suffering a fate worse than destruction. The control room, with its array of monitors and controls, awaits them. The Planet Cracker ship, their last hope in this fight against cosmic horror, is within their grasp. Vanjik and his team set to work, determined to execute their plan and destroy the Brother Moon, whatever the cost. In the tense atmosphere of the control room, as the others work on the remote operation sequence for the planet Cracker, Vanjik stands apart, lost in thought. His mind circles back to the encounter with the Mimic, a nagging question surfacing: why had the Brother Moon allowed them to remain sane, if it had the power to breach and influence their minds? He doesn't voice his concerns, keeping his realization to himself. Instead, he watches his team intently, their actions, their expressions. A creeping suspicion takes root in his mind. Focusing his thoughts, Vanjik probes the depths of his consciousness, searching for any trace of the Brother Moon's influence. And then, in a moment of chilling clarity, Vanjik understands. The necromorphic psychosis had indeed tried to take hold of him. With a swift movement, he draws his weapons, leveling them at the people he believed to be his allies. "Put your damn hands in the air," he commands, his voice a mix of anger and betrayal. The team, startled, complies, but their expressions are as confused as Vanjik's. It's then that the horrifying truth reveals itself: these aren't engineers or technicians, they are unitologists. And just as Vanjik had been deceived, so had they. They had seen Vanjik as someone else entirely, a fellow believer aiding them in destroying the vessel they thought was corrupting their sacred convergence. The room is filled with a tense standoff, both sides realizing they have been pawns in the Brother Moon's insidious game. The psychosis had not just tried to manipulate them, it had succeeded, altering their perceptions and memories, bending their wills to its purpose. But now, both Vanjik and the unitologists are free from the influence, their minds clear for the moment. The revelation is shocking, but it also presents an unexpected opportunity. Despite their differing motives and beliefs, both Vanjik and the unitologists have a common enemy in the Brother Moon. After a heated debate, both sides come to a reluctant understanding. The Brother Moon had played them against each other, but now, in this moment of clarity, they have a chance to unite against the greater threat. Working together, they continue the process of remotely activating the planet Cracker. The task is complex, requiring precise coordination and technical expertise. Vanjik, with his knowledge of combat and strategy, takes on the role of protecting the group, while the unitologists, with their understanding of the spaceport systems, work on the technical aspects. The stakes are higher than ever, but now, with their minds free from the Brother Moon's manipulation, they have a fighting chance. The control room, once a place of deception and confusion, becomes a hub of focused activity as Vanjik and the unitologists put aside their differences to stop the cosmic horror that threatens them all. As they continue their work in the control room, Vanjik and the unitologists engage in a cautious exchange of questions, each side seeking to understand the other better. Despite their mutual distrust and fundamentally different beliefs, they recognize the necessity of cooperation in the face of the Brother Moon's threat. Vanjik, ever the strategist, probes the unitologists about their knowledge of operating ships, curious about how a group primarily known for their religious beliefs acquired such technical skills. The unitologists explain that their belief in a multiversal convergence drove them to acquire a wide range of skills, including the operation of spacecraft. They believed that the convergence would spread across the multiverse, and preparing for this eventuality was seen as essential. However, they admit that their faith has been profoundly shaken. The reality of the convergence, as manifested by the Brother Moon and the necromorphic horror, was far removed from their spiritual visions and prophecies. In turn, the unitologists question Vanjik about his remarkable efficiency in combating the necromorphic threat and his ability to quickly devise plans. Vanjik, maintaining a level of mystery, responds cryptically, He lets his eyes glow a bright white color, a subtle demonstration of his unique nature. "Let's just say my kind are different," he says, hinting at abilities and origins beyond the ordinary. "And let's just say your multiverse theory has some fruit to it." His response implies a deeper understanding of the universe and its mysteries, suggesting that Vanjik's capabilities and insights stem from experiences and knowledge that go beyond the scope of normal human understanding. This exchange of information, while cautious, helps to bridge the gap between Vanjik and the Unitologists. It becomes clear that both sides, despite their differences, have been shaped by their beliefs and experiences in ways that have prepared them for this moment. The Unitologists' belief in a multiversal convergence and Vanjik's mysterious nature and abilities have both, in their own ways, led them to this critical point in the battle against the Brother Moon. As they continue to work together, the remote operation of the Planet Cracker ship progressing, a grudging respect forms between Vanjik and the Unitologists. They are united by a common goal: to end the necromorphic nightmare and prevent the Earth from becoming a part of the cosmic horror that threatens all life. This uneasy alliance, born of necessity and shared peril, becomes their best hope in the fight to save their world. The Unitologists, still reeling from Vanjik's revelation of the multiverse and his unique nature, press him for more information, seeking to understand the extent of his experiences. Their shock is palpable when Vanjik mentions encountering versions of himself in other realities, fighting entities akin to what ancient horror stories called zombies. "Versions of you," one of the Unitologists exclaims, struggling to grasp the concept. Vanjik nods but doesn't dwell on it, focusing instead on the task at hand. "Yes, but in all those encounters, in all those realities, there has never been anything quite like this. No biomutation, no necromorphic mutation like we're seeing here," he explains. His voice carries a mix of determination and resolve as he adds, "This is a first, and I will stop it." As they near the completion of their task, with the system almost online and the Planet Cracker's course being set for the Brother Moon, their focus is abruptly shattered. Necromorphs, drawn by the activity or perhaps sent by the Brother Moon itself, converge on their location. The creatures burst into the control room in a horrifying onslaught, their twisted forms a grotesque sight. Vanjik and the Unitologists spring into action, their temporary alliance put to the test under the pressure of the attack. Vanjik, wielding his plasma cutter and .44 Magnum, fights with lethal efficiency, each shot and slice aimed to incapacitate and destroy the necromorphs. The Unitologists, though not as experienced in combat, hold their own, using whatever tools and weapons they have at their disposal to fend off the attackers. The battle is fierce and chaotic. The control room, once a place of focused activity, becomes a scene of carnage and desperation. Vanjik moves amongst the necromorphs, a whirlwind of destruction, his every move a testament to his skill and determination. Amidst the chaos, the Unitologists work frantically to complete the final steps of the remote operation. Time is of the essence, and every second counts. Vanjik covers them, ensuring they have the time and space needed to finish their task. As the last of the necromorphs falls, the control room is left in disarray, the air thick with the stench of death and the echoes of battle. Vanjik and the Unitologists, breathing heavily, turn their attention back to the monitors. The Planet Cracker ship is ready, its course set for a collision with the Brother Moon. In this moment, Vanjik and the Unitologists are united not just by a common enemy, but by a shared purpose. Together, they stand ready to execute their plan, to use the Planet Cracker as a weapon against the cosmic horror that threatens their world and, possibly, the entire multiverse. The control room is filled with tension as the Unitologists frantically work to set the Planet Cracker ship on a collision course with the Brother Moon. Their fingers fly over the controls, redirecting the ship's power into its gravitational tethers, the massive tools designed for tearing planets apart. This is their last, desperate gamble to stop the cosmic horror. Meanwhile, Vanjik faces a new, formidable threat. A giant necromorph crashes into the room, its armor impenetrable to his .44 Magnum and plasma cutter. The creature is a monstrosity, towering over Vanjik, its every move a display of brute strength and deadly intent. Vanjik is thrown around like a rag doll, the sheer force of the creature's attacks overwhelming. Despite the odds, he fights back with every ounce of his strength and skill. His goal is to keep the behemoth distracted, to buy the unitologists the precious time they need to execute their plan. As the planet cracker's gravitational tethers activate, pulling at the brother moon with immense force, the first chunks of the celestial horror are torn away. This immense act of destruction reverberates through the necromorphic connection, affecting even the giant necromorph in the control room. Vanjik notices a change in the creature's movements. It begins to respond more slowly, as if its connection to the brother moon, its source of power and direction, is weakening. Seizing this opportunity, Vanjik gets to his feet, battered but undeterred. He re-engages the necromorph, now with a renewed sense of hope. The creature might be slowing down, but it's still a formidable opponent, its attacks still dangerous and unpredictable. Vanjik maneuvers around the control room, dodging the necromorph's slower but still deadly swings. He looks for weak points in its armor, any opening he can exploit. The creature, its movements increasingly sluggish, becomes less coordinated, giving Vanjik precious moments to strike. Outside, the planet cracker continues its work, tearing at the brother moon, each piece pulled away weakening the necromorphic infestation gripping the Earth. The fate of the planet hangs in the balance, the outcome of this battle a crucial factor in the wider war against the cosmic entity. The fight rages on in the control room, a microcosm of the larger struggle. Vanjik, representing humanity's resilience and determination, battles the giant necromorph, a physical manifestation of the brother moon's malevolent will. The clash is fierce, a struggle for survival against seemingly insurmountable odds. But Vanjik fights on, knowing that the future of Earth, and possibly the multiverse, depends on his success. The battle between Vanjik and the armored necromorph rages on with ferocious intensity. Each clash is a testament to Vanjik's relentless spirit against a seemingly unstoppable foe. The creature, despite its slowing movements, remains a formidable adversary, its armored hide deflecting Vanjik's attacks. Vanjik, recognizing the need for a different strategy, starts targeting the joints and seams of the necromorph's armor. He moves with calculated precision, dodging the creature's powerful swings, and looking for opportunities to strike at its vulnerabilities. The control room echoes with the sounds of their conflict, the hiss of the plasma cutter, the thunderous impacts of the necromorph's attacks, and the determined grunts of Vanjik as he fights. Each moment is a desperate struggle for survival, with Vanjik using his agility and combat experience to outmaneuver the lumbering beast. Outside, the planet cracker's work on the brother moon continues, its gravitational tethers pulling massive chunks from the celestial entity. The effects of this assault become increasingly evident on the necromorphs, their connection to the brother moon weakening, their movements becoming less coordinated. In the control room, the unitologists work feverishly to maintain the planet cracker's course and power output. They steal glances at the epic struggle, their admiration for Vanjik's resilience growing. They know that without his efforts, their mission would have already failed. Vanjik, feeling the tide of the battle slowly turning in his favor, presses his attack. He leaps and rolls, striking at the necromorph with a combination of plasma cutter blasts and precise shots from his .44 Magnum. The creature, its reactions dulled by the damage to the Brother Moon, begins to falter, its movements growing erratic. Despite the exhaustion setting in, Vanjik's resolve never wavers. He knows that he must defeat this monstrous necromorph to protect his unlikely allies and ensure the success of their mission. With each passing second, the fate of Earth and the fight against the Brother Moon's influence hang in the balance. The battle continues, a relentless display of courage and determination in the face of overwhelming darkness. Vanjik, a lone warrior standing against a tide of cosmic horror, fights not just for his own survival, but for the survival of all humanity. As Vanjik continues his relentless battle against the armored necromorph, a critical moment arrives. The planet Cracker's relentless assault on the Brother Moon is finally taking its toll. Massive chunks of the cosmic entity are torn away, its hold over the necromorphs weakening with each passing moment. In the control room, as Vanjik battles the monstrous necromorph, he notices a significant change. The creature, which had been almost invulnerable, begins to lose its bio-armor, the thick, protective layers peeling away and revealing its more vulnerable form beneath. It's a sign that the Brother Moon's influence, the source of the necromorph's terrifying power, is waning. Seizing the opportunity, Vanjik moves with renewed vigor. He maneuvers around the weakened necromorph, looking for the right moment to strike. Then, with a swift and decisive action, he uses the plasma cutter to slice through the creature's head, cutting through the now vulnerable flesh with ease. The necromorph falls to the ground, lifeless, its reign of terror finally brought to an end. As Vanjik stands there, catching his breath, the team of unitologists in the control room cheer in triumph. The Brother Moon, the source of so much horror and despair, is finally gone, torn apart by the planet Cracker's gravitational tethers. Its destruction signals the end of the necromorphic infestation that had threatened to consume the Earth. The control room, once a place of tense preparation and desperate battle, now resonates with a sense of relief and victory. Vanjik and the unitologists share a moment of exhausted satisfaction, knowing that they have averted a catastrophe of unimaginable proportions. As they look out of the control room windows, they see the first signs of a world recovering from nightmare. The skies, once dominated by the menacing presence of the Brother Moon, are now clear. The Earth, freed from the cosmic horror's grasp, begins the slow process of healing. Vanjik, his mission accomplished, knows that there is much work ahead. The destruction of the Brother Moon is just the first step in rebuilding a world ravaged by the necromorphic plague. But for now, there is a moment of peace, a brief respite in a battle that tested the limits of his resolve and strength. In the aftermath of their victory, Vanjik and the unitologists part ways, their alliance forged in the heat of battle dissolving as they each turn to face the challenges of a world forever changed. Vanjik, a solitary figure once more, looks out at the horizon, ready to face whatever the future holds. Leaving the spaceport behind, Vanjik and his group embark on a solemn journey through the streets of Lancaster. The city, once a bustling hub of life and activity, is now a shadow of its former self, its buildings and streets bearing the scars of the recent apocalypse. Over the course of several days, Vanjik leads the effort to find and gather survivors. It's a grim and heart-wrenching task. The city, which once housed millions, has been reduced to a mere few hundred survivors. The magnitude of the loss is overwhelming, each empty street and silent building a testament to the lives lost to the necromorphic plague. As they move through the city, they encounter people who have been partially transformed by the necromorph contagion. These individuals, trapped in a state of half-mutation, are living in unimaginable agony. Faced with these heartbreaking cases, Vanjik and his group make the difficult decision to grant them a merciful end. It's a task that weighs heavily on everyone, a stark reminder of the cruelty of the Brother Moon's influence. Despite the devastation and sorrow, Vanjik and the survivors work together to build a sense of community and hope. They set up temporary shelters, distribute food and medical supplies, and begin the arduous task of rebuilding what was lost. Vanjik, though a warrior at heart, shows a compassionate side, offering support and guidance to those in need. The days following the Brother Moon's destruction are filled with both mourning and determination. Mourning for the countless lives lost and the city that once was, and determination to rebuild and move forward. The survivors, though few, are united by their shared experience and the desire to restore some semblance of normalcy to their lives. Vanjik, having played a crucial role in stopping the necromorphic plague, remains a central figure in the efforts to rebuild. He works tirelessly, helping to organize recovery efforts and protect the survivors from any residual threats. His actions during the crisis have made him a symbol of hope and resilience in a city that desperately needs both. As Lancaster slowly begins to heal, Vanjik knows that the road to recovery will be long and challenging. The city will never be the same, and the memories of what occurred will linger. But there is a sense of hope amidst the ruins, a belief that, in time, life will return to the streets of Lancaster, and the city will rise again from the ashes of its darkest days. In the weeks following the cataclysmic events, Lancaster City becomes a beacon for survivors. Word spreads among the scattered remnants of humanity about a place of refuge, a city where people are working together to rebuild from the ruins. Groups of survivors, varying in size, begin to converge on Lancaster, each group bringing its own tale of survival and loss. The city's population, once in the mere hundreds, gradually grows into the thousands. The influx of new residents brings a diverse mix of skills and experiences, vital for the reconstruction efforts. Vanjik, who has become a central figure in the community, helps to coordinate these efforts, ensuring that the newcomers are integrated and that resources are allocated efficiently. The focus in these early weeks is on establishing the basics for sustainable living. Makeshift shelters are erected, and efforts are made to restore essential services like clean water and electricity on a small scale. Food distribution is organized, with scavenging teams sent out to recover supplies from the surrounding areas. Amidst this activity, there's a sense of camaraderie and shared purpose. The survivors, despite their different backgrounds and experiences, are united by a common goal: to rebuild and create a safe haven in a world that has been irrevocably changed. As the city stabilizes and the immediate needs of its inhabitants are met, thoughts turn to the future. There's a growing consensus that establishing some form of local government is necessary. This government would help manage the city's resources, maintain order, and plan for the long-term rebuilding of Lancaster. Vanjik plays a crucial role in these discussions, lending his insights and experience. While his expertise lies in combat and strategy, he understands the importance of governance in rebuilding society. He advocates for a system that is inclusive and representative of all the city's inhabitants, ensuring that the mistakes of the past are not repeated. The process of forming a new government is slow and careful, with many meetings and discussions among the city's inhabitants. Various forms of governance are debated, with a focus on transparency, fairness, and the well-being of all residents. The goal is to create a foundation for a community that is resilient, self-sustaining, and prepared for any future challenges. In these early stages of rebuilding, the spirit of hope and determination is palpable. The people of Lancaster, guided by Vanjik and other emerging leaders, lay the groundwork for a new society. In a world that has seen so much destruction and despair, Lancaster City stands as a symbol of humanity's enduring spirit, a place where people come together to rebuild, not just buildings and streets, but the very fabric of a community. Months pass, and the efforts to rebuild Lancaster and other devastated areas around the globe continue with resilience and determination. During this time, Earth remains largely isolated, a planet healing its wounds in solitude. Then, a significant turning point arrives, marking a new chapter in the planet's recovery. Spacecraft from other colonies, which had lost contact with Earth during the chaos unleashed by the Brother Moon, begin to arrive. These vessels, carrying millions of people, bring with them much needed aid and a renewed sense of hope. The arrival of these off-world colonies represents a monumental effort in interstellar cooperation and solidarity, a testament to the enduring human spirit across the stars. The aid comes in various forms: medical supplies, food, technical equipment, and skilled personnel. Teams of engineers, doctors, scientists, and other specialists disembark from the ships, ready to assist in the planet-wide recovery efforts. Their arrival brings not only material assistance but also a wealth of knowledge and experience, crucial for rebuilding a world that had come so close to annihilation. In Lancaster, the arrival of aid from the off-world colonies is met with a mix of relief and celebration. The city, which had become a symbol of human resilience, welcomes the new arrivals with open arms. Meetings are held between the leaders of Lancaster and representatives from the colonies to coordinate the distribution of aid and plan for the city's future. Vanjik, who has been instrumental in Lancaster's survival and rebuilding efforts, plays a key role in these discussions. His experience and leadership are invaluable in navigating the complex process of integrating the aid into the city's recovery plans. The influx of resources and personnel accelerates the reconstruction process. Damaged infrastructure is repaired, new buildings rise from the ruins, and the city's services are gradually restored to full capacity. The sense of community in Lancaster grows stronger, bolstered by the support from their fellow humans from across the stars. The aid from the off-world colonies also marks a reunification of sorts for Earth. It serves as a reminder that the planet is part of a larger interstellar community, connected by shared humanity and common destiny. The catastrophe brought about by the Brother Moon had isolated Earth, but now, the planet is reconnected with its interstellar neighbors, forging new bonds and alliances. As Earth continues to heal and rebuild, the lessons learned from the near apocalypse are not forgotten. Plans are put in place to prevent such a disaster from happening again, with a focus on better understanding the cosmos and preparing for potential threats. The recovery is not just about restoring what was lost but building a stronger, more resilient world for future generations. In Lancaster and beyond, the arrival of aid from the off-world colonies is a turning point, a symbol of a new beginning. It's a time of hope and optimism, as humanity works together to rebuild their world, united by a shared experience and a common vision for a better future. Rebuilding Earth's governance in the aftermath of the cataclysmic events is a complex and unprecedented task. With the original Earth government gone, a power vacuum exists, requiring a new, cohesive system of governance that can effectively manage the planet's recovery and future stability. The process of reconstructing a global government begins with extensive deliberations among the leaders of the off-world colonies, local leaders from various regions on Earth, and representatives from the surviving population. These discussions focus on creating a governance structure that is more inclusive, transparent, and better equipped to handle the challenges of a post-cataclysm world. A key principle agreed upon early in the discussions is decentralization. The new Earth government is envisioned not as a monolithic entity, but as a federation of various regional governments. This federated model allows for a balance between a unified global policy and the autonomy of individual regions, ensuring that local needs and conditions are appropriately addressed. In this federated system, local governments are responsible for the day-to-day administration of their regions, including law enforcement, resource distribution, and infrastructure maintenance. These local governments are formed with significant input from the communities they serve, ensuring that they are representative and accountable to their constituents. The global aspect of the Earth government is responsible for matters that require coordination across regions, such as interstellar relations, global security, environmental management, and large-scale economic policies. This global body is composed of representatives from each of the regional governments, ensuring that all parts of the planet have a voice in these crucial matters. To facilitate effective decision-making and cooperation, a series of councils and committees are established, each focusing on specific areas such as defense, science, trade, and human rights. These bodies include experts and experienced individuals from various regions and colonies, allowing for a diverse range of perspectives and expertise to inform policy decisions. Transparency and public participation are also emphasized in the new Earth government. Mechanisms for public oversight and input are instituted, such as open assemblies, referendums, and the ability to recall representatives. These mechanisms ensure that the government remains responsive to the needs and desires of the population. Additionally, a renewed focus is placed on disaster preparedness and response, learning from the mistakes that led to the near collapse of civilization. Research and monitoring of potential extraterrestrial threats are significantly expanded, and international protocols for crisis management are established. The process of building this new Earth government is slow and sometimes fraught with disagreements and challenges. However, the shared experience of surviving the Brother Moon's threat and the collective desire for a stable and prosperous future drives the process forward. In this new era, Earth emerges not just as a planet that has survived a great catastrophe but as a world that has learned from its past and is actively working towards a more united and resilient future. As the newly formed Earth government begins to take shape, the focus gradually shifts from immediate survival and recovery to long-term stability and growth. The task is monumental, but the collective will of Earth's inhabitants and the support from the off-world colonies provide a strong foundation for this ambitious endeavor. Reconstruction and development. Across the globe, major reconstruction projects are underway. Cities and towns are being rebuilt, with an emphasis on sustainable and resilient infrastructure. Advances in technology, shared by the off-world colonies, play a crucial role in this process. Renewable energy sources, such as solar and wind, are widely adopted, reducing reliance on fossil fuels and helping to heal the planet's environment. Economic revitalization. The global economy, severely impacted by the catastrophe, is a major focus area. The Earth government implements policies to stimulate economic growth, encourage innovation, and support local industries. Trade agreements are established with the off-world colonies, opening new markets and opportunities. A new currency system is introduced to facilitate trade and economic stability, both within Earth and with other colonies. Cultural renaissance. Amidst the reconstruction, there's a cultural renaissance as people seek to express their experiences and hopes for the future. Art, music, literature, and other forms of creative expression flourish, often blending traditional Earth cultures with influences from the off-world colonies. This cultural exchange strengthens the bonds between Earth and the colonies, fostering a sense of unity and shared heritage. Education and research. Education is prioritized to equip future generations with the knowledge and skills needed in this new era. Collaborative educational programs, both on Earth and in space, are established, focusing on science, technology, environmental stewardship, and interstellar studies. Research institutions are revitalized, with an emphasis on understanding and exploring the universe, ensuring that Earth is better prepared for any future extraterrestrial threats. Diplomacy and defense. The Earth government works closely with the off-world colonies to establish a comprehensive defense and diplomatic framework. This includes the development of a unified space fleet for defense and exploration, and the establishment of protocols for contact with other extraterrestrial entities. The experiences of the Brother Moon crisis underscore the importance of being prepared for the unknown. Social and environmental responsibility. Recognizing the fragility of their planet and society, Earth's inhabitants adopt a philosophy of sustainability and responsibility. Environmental conservation efforts are intensified, and social welfare programs are expanded. The collective trauma of the past has instilled a deep appreciation for the planet and for each other, leading to more empathetic and cooperative communities. As months turn into years, Earth experiences a period of renewal and growth. The scars of the Brother Moon crisis remain, a reminder of the past struggles, but they also serve as a testament to humanity's resilience and capacity for rebirth. Vanjik, having played a pivotal role in Earth's darkest hours, continues to be involved in shaping this new world, his experiences and insights invaluable in navigating the challenges of this new era. In this reborn Earth, a sense of optimism prevails. A world that once stood on the brink of annihilation now looks to the future with hope, determined to forge a path of peace, prosperity, and exploration in the vast, mysterious cosmos. Years pass, and the Earth, once ravaged by the Brother Moon's horror, thrives under its new governance and the collective spirit of its people. The planet, a tapestry of rebuilt cities, green landscapes, and revitalized communities, stands as a beacon of hope and resilience in the cosmos. Vanjik, having witnessed and shaped so much of this transformation, finds himself on a hill overlooking Lancaster, the city where it all began for him. The city below bustles with life, a harmonious blend of the old and the new. Children play in parks that were once battlegrounds, and the streets are alive with the buzz of a society that has not just survived, but flourished. The scars of the past are still there, in the memories of the people and in the monuments that stand in honor of those lost, but they serve as reminders of strength and unity, rather than despair. Vanjik, older now, but with a spirit still as fierce and determined as ever, reflects on the journey. From the darkest days of the Brother Moon crisis to the renaissance of a world reborn, he has been a pivotal figure, a symbol of the enduring human spirit. His battles, once fought in the streets against nightmarish creatures, have shifted to the halls of governance and diplomacy, helping to shape a world that learned from its past. As he looks out over the city, a sense of peace settles over him. He realizes that his time of fighting is over, that he has given all he can to ensure the survival and prosperity of his world. It's time for new leaders, new heroes, to emerge and carry forward the legacy of this new era. The sun sets over Lancaster, casting a warm glow over the city. Vanjik turns away, ready to embrace a quieter life, one where the battles are fought only in memories and the future is a promise of continuing peace and exploration. He walks down the hill, each step a part of a journey that, while ending for him, continues for humanity. In the years to come, Earth reaches out to the stars, not in desperation, but with the confidence of a civilization that has faced the abyss and emerged stronger. The legacy of this era, of Vanjik, and all those who stood against the cosmic terror, lives on in the stories, the culture, and the spirit of exploration that defines this new chapter of human history. And so, The story of Vanjik and the rebirth of Earth becomes a part of the tapestry of human lore, a tale of darkness, resilience, and the unyielding light of the human spirit, echoing into the future as a testament to what can be achieved when humanity stands united. The end.